So to continue more on materials, let me go back into this. Let's go to the shirt material. So the colors changed here. I didn't cover this before. Obviously, you can. It's just like any other color picker. I can make this shirt sort of a ugly orange color instead. You can see it automatically updates on the figure. You'll also notice if I were to come over here, it also updated on this figure as well because the same material ID is used on both figures. So when I edit it here, it becomes the same here and here. But I can also, let's say I wanted to take the shirt material, I can command drag, create a new one, change the color on this one to back to our red color. Or actually, like, I'm going to undo everything. And then I'm going to command drag this, and with this one selected, actually, I'm going to close that. With this one selected, I'm going to create that orange color. And then I'm going to apply it here. There. So now I've got a red shirt guy and an orange shirt guy, just so we can tell the difference. But yeah, so you've got your diffusion controls, how bright it is, if it affects the luminance, if it affects specular. All this stuff gets really technical really fast, but you have a bunch of different options. Say, for instance, I wanted this to be semi-transparent, so now it's transparent. If I wanted it to have a glow, I can make it glow. So when that renders, you'll get this, this guy looks like his shirt's glowing. Luminance turns the, and then you can change the color of the luminance. You can go in here and say, okay, I want this thing to glow like yellow, like a bright yellow. So I see how it, and then if we were to render this, I think if I go like this, yeah, see, it just looks ridiculous. So obviously not the material that you would want to use for a shirt, but you have that option too. Like if you want to create lamps or light bulbs, etc., that have their own luminance, and then put lights around them to actually cast light in the scene. Unless, like I said, there's tons of tutorials that you can find online that'll show you how to do all this stuff, and I think at one point down the road I'll show you some of it. Okay, let's, this is ridiculous. Let's get rid of the luminance. I like the glow. Let me leave that on, see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so by the way, I'm going to make this file, when I'm done with it, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to put it up on the website. I'm going to leave all these figures and everything that I've built in here so you can actually play around in the exact same environment that I was using to create these tutorials with. I actually kind of like that. That's kind of cool. He's radioactive. Radioactive man. Okay, I'm going to escape from this, and I'm going to zoom out because I'm going to start teaching you about lights and cameras. I think I'm going to start with cameras. You can see this view might be hard for you to interpret, the wireframe view. So I'm going to just walk you through the lights that I have in here. I'm not using the spotlight. I was going to use it for something. I'm actually going to delete it now because I don't want it. This Omni light, an Omni light, what that means is it casts light in all directions at once. It casts light in every direction. And you can, if I select the light, you can see that I can, like we had talked about in the intensity and fall off tutorial earlier in the film school, how light falls off by what's called in the inverse square law. So you lose a stop every 10 feet or whatever it is. You can set your lights in the 3D world to act just like lights in the real world, so they will actually have that inverse square fall off. So you can go to visibility and say use fall off 100%. On some lights you can actually say what kind of fall off it is, if it's inverse square, or you can customize the fall off. I always like to use inverse square, just because physically accurate, just because it'll tell me, like if I put a light, because I can use these grid markers is kind of to tell me, okay, this is 10 feet, so I've got this light, what is that, 20, 25 feet away. If I use inverse square, I can tell exactly how far away my light needs to be. And if I have enough room, if I built my model to scale, if I have enough room to actually set that light, or if I need to use a different intensity type light. But anyway, yeah, so we've got Omni lights in here. I've got 2 of them for the sconces. Just basically just place them up against the wall. In fact, let me go to the other view so you can kind of see what's happening there. You can see I just placed them against the wall so they'd create a little bit of a highlight and give me a glow in the hallway, which would illuminate our character. One of them is actually a little bit of a rim light, and the other one is placed far enough away that it's not actually reading so much on the character, but it's there to provide sort of an atmospheric sense of 2 lights on a wall or in a hallway in a hotel room. And those are the only lights in my scene. So when we go to that rendered image here of, oh, I have the fog off. So this is what it looks like without the fog on. And you can see my leveler blinds casting my shadows in here. And of course, this is, of course, well, I forgot to show you animation. I guess I should show you that. But with the fog on, I have to go back to my fog box and reactivate that. And then if I render it, it really adds, I think, kind of a nice texture to the image with the fog. And I use fog a lot in my work. I like having light rays. I like being able to have visible light in the scene. But okay, so animation. So all those things I showed you, in fact, let's animate our guy out here on the box. Let me zoom out here. And zoom in on this guy. And like this is going to be a really simple animation, but you can animate everything that you can adjust on the character can be animated. So when you saw me adjusting, like if I wanted to animate, you know, his leg going up and down, or his head turning or whatever, I can animate all of that. And the easiest way to animate is to select auto keying. And now, whatever the state is on the first key, I'm actually just going to grab him and move him just a little bit to set a keyframe. And I'm going to fast forward in time. And this is all numbered by frames. The default's to 90 frames. I usually go with 300 because that gives me enough time to actually animate something and see it happen. You know, over several seconds, I should say. So if I were to come in, say, 160 frames, and this is a really slow animation, and have him stand up, what I could do is I could have this go up. Oops. Have him move forward. And then put his legs on the ground. He's going to stand up really slowly. And then I can just hit play. Like I said, really simple, really basic animation, but that's how you animate. You set it to auto key, or these other animation techniques. I don't do a lot of animation, so like with our other character, you'll notice that his foot is up like he's walking, and he just slides across the scene. Because I just want general blocking. I don't really want to see all the action, you know, If it's really simple and easy, then I'll do it. If it's not, then it's not really important to me. I'm really worried more about the composition and the blocking and what I might run into as far as lighting angles and camera angles, etc. And then be able to sit down and take this and go to a production designer and then say, okay, so obviously we're in this scene here. If we were to go to this other camera, I think it's camera 3? No. Camera... Not sure which camera this one over here is. Camera 2? Camera 1? Really? Yeah. So this opposite angle. And I would say to the production designer, okay, I need to put something on this wall. There's too much dead space when I come to this angle. Let's put maybe we build a window here and we have a night scene outside the window that I'm using to sort of, because when I render this, you'll see, this is actually going to be your homework assignment, by the way. If I render this out, because there's no actual light on this side of the character, you'll notice how he turns gray, because he's not really being illuminated. So all we're getting is the light rays crossing his body, and then what low level bounce we have on him. And if I were to color correct this, then this would go completely black, and I'd lose him, and I wouldn't even be able to see him in the scene. So what I want is either want to put a lamp here in the corner and splash some light up here to silhouette him, or there's a bunch of different solutions you can come up with, or cut a window here, and then put some sort of like a tree and like some night moonlit landscape, or maybe just a window with leveler blinds. And since our light is generally coming in this direction, I could oh, my render went away. I could believably or realistically put a light at that same angle and have a little bit of light streaking in back here through those levelers to just give a little bit more atmosphere and to provide a silhouetted shape here. And like I said, that's just my solution. But what I want you guys to do, when your homework assignment is actually going to be to compose this shot. I just threw a camera in here to make it easier for you, but I want to see kind of what your solutions are. I mean, you don't have to send them to me if you don't want. I don't really care. But I wanted you to have something that was already built so you could see what I did, and then go in here and start playing around before you try building your own scenes and lighting your own scenes and doing the blocking and construction and all that stuff. So to put a camera in here, let's go back outside to the default camera. And, oops. All right, right now this guy's got a light on him, so let's go ahead and render this so we can just get a look. I keep forgetting about his glowing shirt. That's awesome. And the fact that this animates. This was completely... I didn't do this on purpose. I just kind of came about with me just fooling around. So let's put a camera in here. Let me change the angle. I actually kind of like where we were over there. And there's a bunch of different cameras you can, if you click and hold, you'll see camera, target camera, stereo camera. I'm not even going to get into 3D right now. But a target camera, I'll just go with a basic camera. So we'll put the camera in there. Obviously it's going to come in over here on our oh, wow. Well, I just discovered something new. When you're in perspective mode like that and you add a camera, it puts it at your point of view. Who knew? So here I was trying to work all that out, and oh, you just watched me discover something. So let me go back to that camera angle that we wanted. I'm going to undo all of that. Undo. turn the keyframe. Make sure that that's off. If you leave this on, you're going to end up with some really weird stuff going on. So find that camera angle that I liked. Granted, this is not really brilliant composition. But yeah, so I'm going to add a camera. It's at this angle. Now I can go and select use camera 4 and hit render. There we go. So now if I come out, you can see my camera's set right there. That's at the angle that we were at, and it's shooting. And I can rotate it. You know, I can cock the angle a little bit if I want. Can tilt down. Can pan. This is all with the rotational controls on the camera. I can move the camera, obviously. Back it up, push in, dolly over this way, dolly that way, crane up. But you'll notice that if I were to crane up here for a different angle, I'd have to go back and rotate it down to see our character again. Whereas with a target camera, one of the really cool things about a target camera is that you can kind of lock the point at which the camera focuses. In other words, if I were to insert a target camera in here, I don't know why it comes in right there, but it is. If I were to identify the target, which is here, I can move the target right onto our character here, and wherever the target is, that's where the camera points. So if you were to watch me do this, you can see wherever the target goes, look at the camera down here, it points to the target. So it provides some interesting sort of opportunities in which you can take a target. Let me click out of this so you can see what's going on here. I'm going to put the target right in the middle of this guy's chest, and I'm going to grab the camera and move it up here. I'm actually going to watch this. As I flip this past him, the camera will flip around and point the other way. So I'm going to put this camera over here, and then I'm going to switch perspectives to camera 5 and perspective. So there's my camera. You can see how as I move the camera, see how it's locked on our subject. And with that, you see I'm controlling the field of view. You can watch down below, you can see the numbers change. And I'm just going to go to 50 millimeter. I'm going to bring this camera in. And bring that camera down. So see, now when I crane up and down, see how it stays locked on my character? And then I can animate that. I can go back here to the beginning, and I can take my camera target and put it right here. This way I can kind of control my framing as the camera moves as well. So then I'm going to create a keyframe with that and create a keyframe with the camera by nudging it at the first frame. And then as our character moves up, I'm going to have the target go with him. And come this way a little bit so I have him in a better frame. You can see how the camera just follows him. And then I'm also going to crane up with the camera. So I'll go back and select camera 5. And now we've got this interesting animation. So there's your cameras. With lights, again, going back into lights, you have different kinds of lights. You have your light, which is an omni light. You have a spotlight. That's self-explanatory. It's like your Fresnel lights. You have target lights, which work like target cameras. Infinite lights, which just go on forever. Like if you're... Infinite lights take a lot to explain. They're a lot like sunlight, except they don't have a sunlight system with a sky and global illumination. And the sunlight, putting a sunlight in your composition could really eat up a lot of your processing power. And then area lights. Area lights are like Kino flows, soft boxes, very soft sources. So I'm going to put an area light in here. And there it is. You see it popped in, and wow. You can see that sucker's over there. Let me put it over here by our guy. And so since he's being lit by that omni light, I'm going to put this little tiny fill light in here, and go to the basics. This is light 4. We'll call it fill. Color. I want to warm it up a little bit. Just a tiny bit. And then the intensity. I'm going to make it really subtle. So it's just a tiny bit of a... And I just realized while I'm doing this, I'm all the way over here and I have the keyframe auto keying on. So I told you it would cause problems, didn't I? I'll turn that off. Let's see if it actually changes from 0 to here. Yeah. So it took its first position from being way over there. This light's actually going to move in like it's on a cart. I don't want that, so I'm actually going to go back to the first frame, which is go to the start, and see these little red dots here? I'm going to change these to that. So now it won't keyframe. So now it'll stay, it should stay consistent. And it won't move. Technically speaking. Yeah. So now it's right here in my scene where I want it. So to show you how, we'll just do a quick frame render. You can see there's just a little bit of fill on this guy. And then if I were to turn it off, if I were to come in and grab that light and see what a difference it makes. Let's go in here and do a quick render. See, really high contrast versus turning the light on. And that's as basic as it gets. And you can do anything you want with those lights. You can at some point, like down the road, I'll actually do like maybe an advanced class on this. Like I said, I'm used to Maya, so I'm just getting used to Cinema 4D, and there's a lot of things in here I don't know how to do yet that I know how to do in Maya, some of that stuff could be really cool. Like for instance, I was going to put in this frame, you can see this little light that I have here that's turned off. I was going to put I usually put like little crystal balls, like little glass balls, like ball lights on top of these, just like boxes to simulate lamps. And what you can do is you can actually take a light, stick it inside the ball, make the ball glow like we made his shirt glow. Have it have a little bit of luminance to it, and then have the light cast shadows. That's the other thing. You have to make the light cast shadows. But you can make the light cast shadows on everything except the ball. So that way it actually sits in the center of the ball, acts as a light source, but doesn't have to worry about breaking through the ball. It actually ignores the ball being there. And that probably lost a lot of you. But basically what would happen is if I created a ball there and put a light inside it, the ball is going to block all the light. Even if it's a glass material, it's going to block all the light. So I have to go in and tell the material and the light what I want it to do and how I want it to behave. And so, for instance, I want this this light here, this area light, to cast shadow. So I'm going to go to shadow. Right now it says shadow none, and I want soft. And now probably won't get a shadow. I'll get a little bit of shadow, but nothing really here because the light here is so intense. The light that's this main light here. But if I were to turn it off, if I were to say grab this light and which light is this? Light. And turn it off. Now the only light in this scene is this one, and it doesn't have any fall off on it. So I'm going to put some fall off on it. Use fall off. I guess it does have some fall off on it. And I'm going to I'm just going to leave it like that and do a little quick render. Yeah, so now you see really dull light. Now we don't have that other light in the scene. And you can see some nice soft shadows being cast by that light. And the glow from his shirt is almost more intense than this little tiny softbox light that I've put in there. But those are the basics. And you also see up here, turning that light off completely changed the way this scene looks. So if I were to render this, do a quick render. See, we kind of have that same problem we had before where it gets all sort of grayed out because there's no fill, there's no light in this room. There's this glow here is my faked bounce from the rays coming from this light. And then you can see how that faked glow, and that's only because I just don't want to sit there and futz with the global illumination settings to try and figure out why I'm not getting that wash back off that wall. So it's just simpler for me to just stick a light in there that will create that. You notice how this is taking longer to render than normal. One of the reasons is I have more lights in the scene now. Now that I have more lights in the scene and another figure, it's trying to render only what it sees, but that light, I haven't told that light not to affect anything inside this room. So every bucket that renders here is actually trying to read, is this light affecting anything going on this side of the leveler blinds? Is there enough intensity for it to actually affect something in here? And as a result, it slows the render down. So if I wanted to speed this render up, I would just go and turn this light off. And that's basically it. So like I said, your homework assignment is to grab this camera here and try to come up with a solution to shoot this reverse shot and get something that lighting-wise, compositional-wise, matches the shot that we have over here. And I've got my own solution. I know what I would do. There's a couple things that I would do in a real world situation. One of the things that you'll notice, if I were to render this out real quick, just do a quick render. This thing's already running pretty long. We're almost 30 minutes now. Oh, hang on. I'm going to turn that stupid light off. Where the hell is it? Anyway, so now you can see this isn't really going to work. This is actually, we've got this light ray washing everything out, and it doesn't really lend itself to anything that we would want to see. We've got this nice pattern on the bed, but the fog here is too intense. So one of the things you would do, like maybe in the normal world, is you'd open up a window and let some of the fog out so it's not so intense. I can do that here. I can go into the fog material and I can I can turn down the intensity of it. The thickness is at 44%. Maybe I drop it to 20%. I'll get less light rays in that particular scene. But there's other things you can do so that you get consistency with the fog in terms of moving lights, flagging some lights off, maybe adding certain elements in the room that we didn't see that may actually enhance the shot that we have going the other way. But this is what I'm talking about, is being able to create in this world, seeing something that I've done and just go, oh yeah, I understand that. I understand about the wedges, and I understand about the light and the camera movement and the framing and the thirds and all that stuff. But if you can't create it, if you can't sit down and take a scene without me showing you, so you're not imitating what I've done, and actually sit down and sort of come up with your own language, and by that I mean your own way of doing things in a way that works, in a way that produces something that's aesthetically pleasing, then what I was saying in the earlier tutorial, maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you're not cut out to be a cinematographer, because that's something you have to do on a daily basis, and you have to be able to create. You can't just imitate, because what will happen is you'll get an assignment like this and you won't know what to do. You won't have any ideas for a solution. You won't have any experience to rely on, and you'll start trying things. And that's why I want you to do it here. It doesn't cost you anything to do it in here. In here, you can try things and be like, oh, that doesn't work, or this light's driving me batty. How do I control this light? And then you'll start maybe coming up with solutions like, oh, you know what? Why don't I try something like this? Anyway, so eventually I'll put my solution out there. But if you're getting this tutorial later down the road and that solution's already sitting below this one, then don't watch it right away. Go and try your own things, because what's important really is I'm not going to teach you everything you need to know about composition, because I feel that would damage you. I want you guys to have your own voice. It shouldn't just, like I said, I'm self-taught, and what I like about being self-taught is that I do have my own voice. I've looked at what other people have done, but when it comes to compositional elements, I learned what the compositional elements were, but I didn't spend a lot of time like in a classroom or watching tutorials or videos or talking to somebody about how to use them. So I began to sort of look at things that I liked and study how the compositional elements were arranged and how they worked, and then go, okay, I like that. That speaks to me. That doesn't speak to me. So there is no, it's hard to say there's no good or bad. There is good and bad composition, but there's just no right and wrong. There's just what really works for you and what really electrifies your brain. If you look at an image, or if you create an image and just go, wow, that just looks so cool. I love the way that looks. I love, it just says something to you. It just speaks to you. Then that's something you should learn to either recreate yourself, or if you created it, be able to analyze and reproduce, and that becomes your own voice, so to speak. And I know this one ran really long, and I'm sorry about that. But hopefully you guys can you have this program, or you can download it, or you can get it cheaply, and get in there and start making your own storyboards. Start creating your own worlds, and putting people in them, and scenes, and writing scenes and blocking them out and lighting them and shooting them and doing set deck and all that fun stuff. To get a sense for this, start making movies. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do this right here in your bedroom or your office or wherever your computer is. And the clock's not ticking. Money's not being burnt. You're just there, learning and playing. So until next time, have fun.